world in which we live, we could still have quite the skewed understanding of what we think is reality. I have another funny story about an impression that I had and a friend and I had together, which makes it even more interesting. My wife and I, our favorite restaurant here in Ottawa is called Tale Thai. It's located on Bank Street, just north of Catherine. They don't know I'm giving them this plug, but they certainly deserve it. It's a wonderful Thai restaurant. And I was working just across the street from it. And I was friends with the co-founder of this company. And we would go out from time to time for lunch. And one of our more favorite places had a fire. And this new place had opened up. And so we went to check it out. And we fell in love with it from day one. And we would go there on somewhat of a regular basis, not every day. And we would order our food. And we'd also sometimes have an order of lemongrass tea. It was a lovely tea, and I remember that very first time the server came out with it on a tray, and with a nice teapot and those pretty little round cups, the ones without the handles on them, and he poured the tea into the cups and then put the cups onto the table, and then put the teapot down for us to have more if we want. And I remember at the time thinking, what's he doing? Everybody knows you're supposed to let the tea steep and then you pour out the tea. And so I took our teacups and opened the lid of the teapot and poured the tea back in, put the lid back on, waited for a little while, waited for our food to come, and then re-pour the tea. And of course, then it would be the properly steeped and we would enjoy it as we did. And this went on, I don't know how many times this would happen. We'd order the tea would come, the server would pour it right away, we would pour it back in the teapot and wait a little while and then drink our properly steeped tea. Well, one day, it was the beginning of our time there, our tea was there, done our ritual of pouring back the tea, and my friend's cell phone rang, and he took the call. And I was sitting there kind of waiting. Our food hadn't yet come. And so I was thinking to myself, I wonder what the tea is like inside the pot. I've never looked. When they often use tea bags, they'll take the little tags with the strings and put the tags on the outside of the teapot and close the lid. But there were no tags, and I wouldn't think they would throw the whole thing with the tags inside it. It could have been just plain tea bags without the string and the tag. That's possible. Or it could be loose leaves. But when there's loose leaves, the leaves would often, some of them would pour into the teacups. And that had never happened all the times that we'd ever had this wonderful lemongrass tea. So I open up the lid while my friend's on the phone. I look inside the teapot and all there is the tea. Well, you know what that meant? That meant that they had prepared the tea in the kitchen, poured it into the teapot just as a server, not to make the tea, like many of us do. And they poured the tea into the teapot and serviced the tea. But because we assumed that the tea was steeping in the pot, we poured it back in, waited a little while, and poured it back out. All the time thinking that we were helping the steeping process all along when it actually wasn't making a difference. Well, I'd look at the tea, go, oh, that's weak. Pour it back into the teapot, pour it back in a few minutes, go, oh no, now the tea is ready to drink. And all that time, we were wrong. And I'm so glad. You can think whatever you like about my intelligence, but my friend was one of the brightest people I know. He was a tech patent holder, creative guy, very intelligent. And yet the two of us, I initiated it, the two of us went along with this deception that we more or less brought upon ourselves based on an assumption. And I wonder how many things, like, you might be laughing at me, laughing at us, but I wonder how many things in life we're actually deceived about based on all sorts of assumptions. There's things I was taught about as a child about how to navigate the world in which we live, which were not true. Many of them have to do with God and the Bible, but there's so many things. And then learning from the Bible what actually is true. We're going to come back to that in a moment.